You're listening to the OK Dad podcast.
Please leave your message for
Daddy-o.
Hi, Daddy.
Okay, Dad podcast. Let's start this
You're
thing.
listening to my husband talk a lot.
Hey, what's going on, Oscar?
Good. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well, man. Actually, just it's a little late, but after the storm, decided to change all the bulbs to LEDs. So I've had a bunch laying around since we moved. So just knock that out, man.
Yeah, I try not to change them unless they're out, but the house is relatively new, but I still went ahead and changed them out to LED just because they help just with the price in itself,
Oh, definitely, dude.
Electric bill. I think we started off with 60 watts. I'm down to like 19.
Dang,
And so,
not bad, man.
Yeah.
My wife didn't really care about them too much. So early on in our last house, when I started switching them out one by one, this is like 2015, 2016. Every time I went to the store, I would buy a pack and then go somewhere in the house, switch them out, and just start doing that. But I don't know if you've heard an episode or two, but I do like to start off with just like introducing yourself. So, are you married? You got any kids? Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah. So I'm married. Um, we've been together since 2010, and we have one daughter, and she's 2.5 years old. Um, right now, we're both kind of working from home. My wife just got sent home um, to work from home, which is awesome. The pandemic started,
Yeah.
and then we have another baby on the way. So my
Oh,
wife's 4 months pregnant.
okay. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
Do you
So
know?
I'm following right behind you.
Yeah, dude. Do you know? Do you know if it's a boy or girl? Or are y'all waiting or
Not yet. Next month,
next month?
at the 20 weeks, they're gonna let us know. We don't want to do the blood test just because you get the results of Down syndrome and all these other medical conditions.
Yeah.
So, and I think for us, it scares us, and it won't deter us from what we want or for the baby.
Yeah.
So, if anything, it'll just stress us out. So we decided not to do that route, and we'll just wait for the ultrasound confirmation, see if it's a boy or a girl.
Yeah, me and my wife were kind of waiting for everything, and she ended up getting in a car accident. Someone had like hit her coming out of a turn, and we
Ouch.
we still haven't even had an ultrasound until the very next day when we had to go get her checked out. She felt fine, and we're like, all right, well let's go get an ultrasound.
Yeah.
Aside from that, dude, that's the only appointment that I've been with her. I haven't been able to go into any appointment with her. Have you been able to do that with your wife or?
No, I have not. I actually mentioned it to her. So she watches a lot to the Try Guys.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the guys on there, he kind of does his own podcast, and he speaks about parenting. And I kind of felt the same way being in his shoes. He's also just had a newborn. It almost felt disconnected compared to her last pregnancy, because
Yeah.
in her last pregnancy, I was there every single appointment.
Yeah.
And this time it's not. So, hearing the baby's heartbeat, doing it over the phone, or it's a recording,
Yeah.
um, it is different. And, I guess one wants to be there.
Yeah, I
But no,
think
I
early on
I
that's
need to do
building
it.
like a bond, right? Like that's how you're building that initial bond with it. I felt that with my first son, and now with my second son on the way. Like I said, the only thing I've been to is that ER visit that we had, but nothing else
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah, so it's just been very weird with the COVID going on. So, um, my wife says she's starting to feel the baby kind of moving a little bit. So I can't wait till those
Yeah.
movements gets big enough to where I can start feeling the
Yeah.
kicks and punches.
How did you and your wife meet?
We were in high school. The first time was in ninth grade. I want to say maybe 2006, 2007. It would be around there, right? Because we graduated in 2010, and that's when we got together. So
Yeah.
at first we were I think it's high school dating. I wouldn't even call it dating,
Yeah.
but I guess we were boyfriend girlfriend for maybe a month before, and that's it. And then she moved to a different school. But I guess after high school we reconnected and got back together.
Yeah.
Um, we lived in an apartment for a little bit. Um, I want to say it wasn't, but about a year or two before we kind of called it quits and decided to get a home.
Yeah.
And so we lived in this house in 2012. I think we moved in.
Yeah.
It's a funny story for that house, but I'll get into that
Yeah.
later.
Was your
Um,
first house together, or that was your first house ever?
yeah, that was the first house ever. We were 19.
Man, y'all bought it?
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa. Damn.
And so, well, I think in 2013 I proposed, and then we got married in 2015. So
Nice.
been good.
Yeah. So walk me through when you got the news that she was pregnant. Were y'all trying? Was it a
Yeah,
surprise?
no, both times it was planned. So lucky for us. I know a lot of people don't get that benefit. Um, we were, she was able to take prenatals before she conceived, and I
Yeah.
think, you know, too, taking vitamins for myself. Not that we experienced any difficulties, but it was the babies like trying to be 100% as healthy as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. No, I get that.
um,
I
we
know I
do,
know you're big into like fitness and stuff too, right, Oscar? Because I know some of your posts on Instagram and stuff have gotten me motivated.
yeah,
I was trying to get back into it. I'm working through like a back injury. So seeing your posts like daily. I mean, I saw somebody, there's always haters out there, right? But somebody's always
right,
talking about how, like, all right, somebody's posting another gym pic or somebody's posting another run pic. And I'm like, dude, that's not the point. The point is that you're posting that picture every day. That means every day you're going out and running, like every day you're stepping up and doing something physical. And when I see people's like running pictures or their like Monday motivation or their gym pictures, like that's the stuff that gets me motivated. And like I've been, especially with this past like winter storm, like I've been slacking this whole week. I let the
yeah. No, me too. This
yeah,
week's been
man.
tough.
Yeah, it's been super difficult. I let it get the best of me, but going through that, man, how are you able to like balance all that and be a husband and be a dad, like while still like maintaining that like fitness level?
It's extremely difficult. I won't lie,
Yeah.
just because at first, I told myself, you know what, I need to be more active, kind of lose the weight and whatnot, because this baby's going to really, our first baby was really going to drain me out of energy. And so I started running. I read a book called The Morning Miracle, and he really just brought into light how important it is to wake up early and grab hold of the day.
Hmm.
And one of the best things, kind of like what mentally wake yourself up, is to exercise. And I said, okay, well, I like exercising. I hate the fact that I exercise late at night, because after you cool down, I have too much energy, so it's hard for me to go to sleep. So I say, I guess it'd be good to work out in the morning and do all that. But I tried to get into that. It was a little too hard for me, just because I would have to wake up super early, and then the baby waking up in the middle of the night. And
Hmm.
it takes some time to find some balance. Even now, I was thinking, hey, finally got a rhythm going. But guess what? COVID hit, work from
Yeah.
home. And so it's just like, wow, well, now it's waking up early in the morning, great. I can work out, great. But then it's like throughout the day, it's really hard to kind of be active or anything, because it's a desk job. And then I have my daughter running around and have to make sure she's also fed
Yeah.
properly, proper food, not just whatever.
Yeah.
And taken care of, and not watching too much TV, too much junk time, and back
Yeah.
and forth. So you just got to continuously make the best out of it and continue to adjust. And as far as food, that's something that I'm pretty big on. I know I don't eat the healthiest. I don't eat my vegetables. So, and that's one of the things, me and my wife, the reason why we support and we do Herbalife on the side,
Hmm.
just for health benefits.
Yeah.
Some people can do without their supplements, and power to them. I know I don't have the time, and I know that I don't
Yeah.
eat my things of fruits and vegetables. So, a little help, everyone can use,
Yeah, dude.
especially during their crazy routines people have in their lives.
Yeah, man. I think quality goes into it too. My wife's a big like I don't even know what to call it, but she's very conscious of what we're eating. She probably cooks like
Well, that's
90%
good.
of the food that we eat at home. So like 95% of what we eat are home cooked meals. The other 5% is probably these healthy chicken nuggets. I don't know if they're not where all the other chicken nuggets are. I know that. And then the cauliflower like tater tots that we give them. That's probably the other
Oh wow.
5% that they eat. And it's to the point to where even when we were looking at vitamins, I'm just like going up and like, all right, well, I need some vitamin D or magnesium. It's to the point to where she's like, no, we're not getting it from here. We're not getting it from Costco. Like it's got to be of quality
Right.
supplements that you're getting. So like that, I know that is like a big part of it too. Like the quality of the vitamins that you're getting and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, with it being so difficult with COVID and all that stuff hit, how are you and your wife like going through everything, especially through the pandemic? I know it's kind of eased off, I think, um, with mask and sanitation and everything. Like a lot of stuff is open. I know down here in San Antonio, a lot of stuff is open. People were like moving, trying to get to some sense of normalcy just with the mask and the social distancing. It doesn't seem like too many people were worried about it. We went to Target like probably 3 weeks ago, and we saw like a fair or a festival going on like outside the
No.
parking lot, and I was like, what's happening here? Like, is this a pandemic, or did like we missed a memo? Is it over? Like what? So like
Yeah.
we're seeing stuff like that around town, but I mean, people are just craving that sense of normalcy, and we're like, nah, we're not gonna stop there. But we went to Target and got the stuff that we needed. But I mean, it wasn't like that early on. Like everybody was confined to their houses. How were you guys navigating that? Like with your marriage and your 2-year-old? She would have been what, one then?
Yeah, 1.5 when I started taking care of her. Before that, my mom was taking care of her. And so I'll drop her off in the morning with her. And since my mom does Herbalife full time, she has a freedom of working from home and kind of setting her own hours. So luckily for me, I can leave my daughter with someone I trust.
Yeah.
And both me and my wife are working. My wife at the Methodist Hospital.
Hmm.
And so we hear the pandemic hit and we're just like, oh. And so I'm huge in I guess doing research on things, news and
Yeah.
events already. So I mean, you can just imagine when COVID hit, how swamped I was at just all the news media. I mean, you can
Yeah, dude.
get it, like everyone was talking about it, right? And so
Hmm.
I was really happy that my job just like, hey, you can work from home.
Yeah.
Awesome news for me. Get my daughter, because my mom also doing Herbalife. You're talking to people. You're
Hmm.
surrounded, face to face. It's just more like, no,
Yeah.
my daughter needs to come home. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, and also I was doing research like, hey, how would this affect my wife who works at the medical field? How
Hmm.
contagious is this? How dangerous is this? I was researching cloth masks. That we had a few N95 masks
Yeah.
because we did floors at my house. We redid our floors, so
Yeah.
we had some N95s, some on the side that we never really used, and we're just like, hey, maybe you gotta use these, and
Yeah.
um, it was troubling, I guess. But we both kind of just understood the severity of it, but life does need to go on, and so we were just being as cautious possible. Um, and then now that she's pregnant, the security threat or the that awareness still needs to be high alert um,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
pregnant women, knowing
Yeah.
they're a little bit more susceptible.
Oh yeah, like it's difficult. My wife is always researching the medical stuff since she's a RN, and she doesn't want to take the vaccine because
Oh
in
no.
under normal circumstances, like a pregnant lady's not supposed to take any kind of vaccine. So she's like, no, if I don't need to get it, she's my wife was like, I'll get pregnant again, so I don't have to take the vaccine. So we were laughing about that. But man, as you guys are navigating through it, um, is it kind of tough to keep a spark, or is it kind of just natural and you guys are working together as a team? I know, like, I think I have both of y'all that I follow on Instagram, and like
Yeah.
everything's looking good, man. Like, you guys are definitely like a model couple to like go after and see. Like, it's good. I like that
Thank you.
positive
Yeah.
stuff in my feed, man. I think that's always good for the heart, and to always follow, you know, what you can, at least chase something like that. But how is it? Because I know with me and my wife, I think this past year, I think last January, we started working on our communication skill, and then
Right.
COVID hit, and as early on, our work shut us down like half time, and I loved it. It was great for me because I got to spend more time at home with the kids, like you were able to, and in turn, I get to spend more time with my wife. So it was great. As we were working on that communication piece, we kind of bonded together. Now I was full time back at work again, maybe after 2, 3 months. And my wife never stopped working full time. So we kind of missed that piece of COVID where everybody's staying home all the time, because she was tagged as an essential worker, and then we got
Yeah.
time status for us. So we kind of, I think I talked about this in a dad's group that I'm in, but kind of the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing, like there were people that were like, man, I'm wanting quarantine to be over so I can go out. I've been at home with my kids and my wife, and with me it was kind of reversed. I had a couple of months with me and my wife and the kids at home, and I was like, this is great. And then we both went back to full time, and now it's like, man, I really wish we had more time together and stuff like that. But how was it with you guys?
Yeah. Similar thing with this whole communication working and things like that. A few years, we just had a pretty bad, um, I guess, fight. But after that, like we both need to work on communication, and that has improved a lot. And I think that's what we came to terms with having our first daughter, and then things went so smooth for her. She was happy pregnancy, everything nice.
Yeah.
She's healthy and great. So we decided to have another baby. And then, with COVID going on, it was just worrisome. But
Hmm.
talking, and I think a little bit more on my part, just because sometimes I don't like to have too much emotion. Um,
Yeah.
you know, being a guy, decision making and things like that, you don't want to put emotion into those types of things. So you got to learn a little bit and
Yeah.
just show a little bit.
Yeah, I
And
think I think us guys are a little bit more logical and stuff. We try to think with our heads first before our hearts, and that gets in the way, especially with
yeah.
a marriage. It can. I could see that. Yeah.
And so, well, I did a lot of. Uh, Let me backtrack a little bit. Because COVID hit, I made extra time. I was already big in news and politics and things like that.
Yeah.
I was up to date with that. So once COVID hit, I really dug myself into research, and so I had a lot of time to fill. Like now, I just have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Um, YouTube, podcast, news media, TV was going in the background, my phone, my iPad. I mean, everything was just toned into something. At
Hmm.
the same time, I'm working from home
Yeah.
and taking care of my daughter. Um, so now I've, tried to change that into something a little bit more positive. I said, hey, COVID's here to stay. Stop putting so much attention. You kind of know the ins and outs, you know what to do. And so I did a lot of self-help books,
Hmm.
audiobooks have been my favorite. Um, and I'm trying to change that into like positivity. And I think right now I just started a book called Surrounded by Idiots.
Yeah.
And
I like that
I don't know
title.
if you, yeah, no, and I feel like that sometimes. So I'm like, that's a perfect book for me. But I read the
Yeah.
synopsis. And the reason why I got it is because I read the synopsis. And it's basically just helping you read people into different points of views to let you know where they're coming from. It's just
Hmm.
for you to change that perception, hey, I'm surrounded by idiots. It's like, no, it's just different people from different backgrounds are
Yeah.
seeing things differently than you. And so it's just helping you break that down, and to deal with that, because a different book that I read, just people are good resources for you. If you
Hmm.
push people away, you're causing harm to yourself. Everyone's valuable, everyone
Yeah,
has something to give, and you really should not, be isolated, lone wolf. I know a lot of people like to be their lone wolf, and
definitely. Yeah.
it's hard to open up your circle of influence. So
Yeah.
that's something I know, I needed to work on. So that has helped my communication, helps my relationship, and just overall has been great.
Yeah, I know one for me was how to have the impossible conversation. And it kind of talks a little bit about what we're talking about here. Like it talks about how you might have a side and somebody else has a side. And one of the things that I found most interesting out of that book that is really true on human nature is that you could come with facts to somebody else, but you're not fighting facts. You're arguing or you're discussing or you're debating. You're fighting somebody's ideas and beliefs. So if I come at you and tell you, "Hey, this is a fact," that person, like, you just attack their belief, not what's real or not, but their belief. And so since you attack their belief, they kind of hold on, and it kind of strengthens their belief even more because it's under attack, so they'll hold on to something else. And we see that a lot in politics. Like we see one person
Yeah, definitely.
something and from one side, and then a couple weeks later, a couple months later, a guy from the other side will do something exactly the same. And people just they grab at that, and they hold on to those beliefs so strong. But it's crazy because even since starting this podcast, like, you put all that aside, like, we're so alike in so many ways. We can have conversations, we can take in ideas and share them, and then like implement them and realize, like, hey, like, we're actually all in this together, man. Like, we're all neighbors here, like, we're all a community. Why are we fighting over
Right.
somebody who's not in our community? You know what I mean? And that was something that was eye-opening for me. It's like, oh, you know what, that does make sense, because every time I did bring facts to an argument or a debate, they just got even more upset, or they doubled down on their
Defensive.
belief, right?
Right.
Yeah, they get totally defensive. And that was eye-opening for me. And as you go through the book, it just talks about, like you said, their perceptions and trying to see where they're at. But I think even having a conversation with somebody is the important part, and not everybody can have, just a natural, genuine conversation. Not right now, not what I see. Like, anytime we go out somewhere,
Right.
it's like, hey, how are you doing? Like, I'm doing good, how are you doing? And I had an uncle, my uncle Marcel. He's a family friend, but Hispanic, so he would always hang out with us. So, hey, this is my uncle. But we would go up to convenience stores, and we'd go up, buy some chips and some soda water. And he would ask the cashier, he would say, like, hey, how are you doing? They would say, like, I'm doing fine, guy or girl. And he would always be like, why don't you smile a little bit more? And they're like, what? Like, why don't you just smile a little bit more? Like, it's a good day. And he would talk to them more than just like a, hey, how are you doing? Like, I'm doing good, how are you doing? Like, I'm doing good. And then that's it, kind of the just right out of the pocket here, this is what you're supposed to say. And even that's just like more of a genuine conversation than most that we have now. So, like, next time we're at a convenience store, try talking to someone, like, just like them. you know I think you follow me back on Instagram, and I follow you, but to even have a
Yeah.
conversation like we're doing now, like, it takes a little bit more than just like, hey, what's going on? Like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, you feel yourself start putting in more, and like, oh, okay, you know what, there are people out there that want to have conversations and talk about things. So that's one thing.
Yeah, it's been interesting, because I know part of me, I guess I can't go, with Herbalife, and talk to a lot of people. So I've been using social media to try and communicate with people. And I don't want to, just hound everyone that follows me, or I follow them. Hey, try Herbalife. They're great supplements for you.
Yeah.
You know, I just post about me, my life, my journey, what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
hardly ever post about the products and push it down people's throats because
Yeah.
I myself would not want that. And so if people ever ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? Or hey, what are you doing besides running? Then I tell them. But even for that topic to even come up, you got to almost talk to them, right? You got to
Hmm.
kind of be friends. And so every once in a blue moon, if I go through people's stories and I comment something, send them a quick message, and sometimes, and it's really rare, but actual conversations spark up. And
Yeah.
it's nice because of that lack of communication we're having so
Hmm.
far. We don't talk on what hangs around at the stores. Um, Not that I ever really hung out at a store just to have conversations, but
Yeah.
um, I would see maybe some strangers, some cashiers, and a customer maybe talk a little bit, and I don't see that now. And so I kind of value a little bit more those small um, instances where I do get to meet someone and kind of know their background a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of time I think I met this guy or talked to this guy. He works for the Texas Workforce Commission,
Hmm.
um, for unemployment offices and all that. And he lives in town. He's trying to, lose his weight, but he's super stressed out at work and then a lot of demand, and maybe just speaking to him and let him kind of vent towards me. And I kind of like just having someone to talk to, vice versa. So we're
Yeah.
both kind of like mutually benefit. So it's pretty interesting how many people out there just want to talk, want to have that communication. And so it takes a little bit to initiate it, I guess. Come out of your comfort zone if you want to start it off.
Yeah.
Because some people may not come out of their comfort zone. So in
Yeah.
order for something to happen, you might need to take that first step.
It's almost like a shock, right? When somebody starts talking to you, like, oh, you're really asking me how my day is. You're not just saying it like a default, you know?
Yeah.
Well, man, you're up in Houston.
Yeah.
How
Yeah. In
was it
Houston.
during that storm, man, for y'all?
Oh man, it was horrible.
Yeah.
It's so I have some security cameras that record on motion.
Hmm.
And so they started recording at 2 o'clock or a little midnight. And sometimes they act up and they'll record every little motion. And since it was snowing, well, guess what they were doing?
Yeah.
Just recording all that snowfall. So they stopped recording around 2 a.m. So I can only imagine that that's when we lost power.
Mm,
Um, they're battery powered, but they connect to a central hub that is plugged in. So
yeah.
um, I guess they stopped recording around 2. We lost power. We woke up freeze. I woke up at 4 um, because I kind of checked my stocks.
Yeah.
I got into stock trading a little bit, and so I woke up and I had to use the restroom and peeked out the window, and there's snow, and I'm excited. And I was like, man, should I wake up everyone? We should probably go out. It's like, nah, it's a little cold. Probably won't
Yeah.
do that. And when I flipped the light on for the restroom is when I noticed, great. It's a little
Uh,
cold because the heater's not on.
yeah.
The lights are out. Um, so I think we didn't think the lights were going to go out that long. So we got ready around 7 o'clock and we headed out the door.
Yeah.
Um, it was okay. The snow was too powdery to even play in. Can't even make a snowball.
Yeah.
And then my daughter was just freezing her butt off too much. I guess when they're that little, either she couldn't tell me she's exposed or couldn't tell me if
Hmm.
she's warm enough. We had just bought her the day before some mittens for the snow at a
Yeah.
specialty store. Um, but still, I guess just wasn't enough. So we came back in within 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and yeah, power just never came back, and it was a little irritating. And then we spent the night that night, Monday night. It was probably went down 14 degrees, coldest I've experienced here in Houston, and um, it it was just we have these just all the blankets in the house we could find. I think maybe 6 or 7 blankets. We have
Yeah.
2 large pit bulls, 80 plus pounds, so they're big dogs.
Yeah.
They slept in the bed with us, and everyone's just piled up in there trying to keep the room warm with body
Yeah.
warmth.
Yep.
But we weren't prepared, not at all. As a matter of fact, right now I'm building a bug out bag,
Yeah.
just fire sticks, hand warmers, first aid kits, warming sheets. Which, if anyone's listening, or you yourself wants to get them, they're like $8 for 4 pack, and they're
Yeah.
just they're cheap, and I guess it's something to have
Yeah,
around the
man.
house, just like a
I don't think
first aid kit.
I don't think anybody in Texas was prepared for that. I know we normally see like maybe in the 20s, mid 20s, high 20s.
Yeah, and that's usually a day or two,
Yeah.
tops.
If we see something in the teens or in that, in the 10 digits, it's usually for an hour or so. It's never been for like this. And then you add that snow onto it, which I don't think, South
The
Texas
wind
has
too.
ever even seen for that.
Yeah.
Man, it was just
So
bad. I think
we went to we
how
went to my mom's Tuesday night just because we could not do another night. I felt
yeah,
just horrible for my wife and daughter. If I had to tough it out, I want to say maybe, take pride in myself.
yeah.
But no, it's not worth putting my family like that.
Oh yeah.
My
When you
mom,
add the family element into it, like no, it's over. Like
my mom lives right about 15 minutes away from here,
mhm.
and she had a gas fireplace.
Okay.
We have a gas stove. It's just, we're not going to keep the stove on to heat up the whole house. That doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah.
but she has a fireplace in her living room, and so she had her blankets out there, and so I was like, okay, well, we'll go over there for the night.
Yeah.
And that same night, the lights came back on.
Okay. At
Um,
your place or
yeah, I was checking the security cameras. I was like, look, if the security cameras connect, that means we have lights.
yeah. Yeah.
So I was checking them, and at both my mom's place and in my place, the lights came on. But it was rolling blackouts. It was out almost
Yeah.
instantly. No worry.
I know
So we stayed there.
here it was like that. They were talking about those rolling blackouts, and I think Sunday, Monday, Tuesday we were fine. And then I think Tuesday night the power went out. No, Tuesday Tuesday at like 1 o'clock, I think the power just completely went out. It was midday, and we were like, okay, well, I think we're fine. And then the power went out, and I'm like, yeah, that I don't foresee it coming back on. If we've had
Yeah.
power up until now and it's out, like it's not a blackout, it's something else. CPS is the energy company down in San Antonio. I don't know if they're the ones up there or not, but
No.
they they said their grid, the way that it was calculating the rolling blackouts was a system or a computer. It was one of the reports that I read on one of the news, and it said anywhere that it needed like 100 megawatts or whatever that number is, it would shut down the places on the grid that were drawing the most power, and then it would shut that place down. So I was telling my wife, like, well, maybe our neighborhood was one of the ones that were like not drawing that much power. And then when it completely shut off, like I think days later, we got some of the neighbors were digging into it, and they're like, yeah, it was we've called and reported the outage, and they're saying that it's not part of the rolling blackout, that it's something else that they haven't even gotten yet. And I mean, we had a gas stove, so we started boiling some water just to keep the air humid inside. We had to turn that off. We had blankets. I have some military like grade batteries, so we were using that for lights at night. But man, if worse came to worse, I was going to turn my truck on and then use the plug in an extension cord, but we didn't have a heater. So we didn't even have a
Yeah.
plug-in heater. So we were just all inside. We had 3 layers of clothes. We were just all in one room, and with a 3-year-old running around. a preteen in here, my wife. Like it was good, man. Like it wasn't rough for us. It definitely could have been worse if we
Yeah.
didn't have. My wife had packed up. She filled a bunch of bottled waters before, I think before Monday. So we had water,
Nice.
we had food, we had to throw. I think we were out like maybe 40 something hours, and so we did have to throw away like our fridge food. I went outside and we were making a snowman that first night. And like you said, it was powdery. It was super powdery. So it took us like an hour to build the snowman. And in the backyard, when the kids went outside, I was trying to build another snowman in the back, but it was so powdery. So there was just this massive pile of snow. And so the next day, when everything started to melt and we still didn't have power, I think it was like hour probably 16, 17, everything was melting except for that huge pile. And I'm like, you know what, like I don't know when we're gonna have power. And I'm like, in my mind, the only thing I was thinking about is like Puerto Rico. Like when Puerto
Oh
Rico
yeah.
was without power, they were out for like months, like more than that. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, here in America, Texas, San Antonio, I'm like, worst case I'm thinking is 1 week. Or like best case I'm thinking is like 1 week for us if it went out like this and everything's going on around us. So I'm like, let me go get the what is it, the ice chest. I filled it with that snow. I started dumping stuff in there. Didn't open the freezer, and like we were ready and we were going through food. And like the first night, I'm like, the stuff in the fridge is going bad. We had some ribeyes and some shrimp, and I'm like, we need to cook the ribeye and the shrimp because that's not going to be good tomorrow. And
Yeah.
and then just from there, like our food started going out, and we're like, all right, well, like, we're gonna have to do something. It warmed up the next day, and I'm like, I don't know the food that we have, like if we should keep doing it. We live about half a mile away from a Domino's, and we ordered Domino's, and our cell phone service was in and out. Like we would get cell phone service for maybe 2 minutes at a time every like 4 hours. And if we weren't by our phones and we didn't know that, then we couldn't even use them. So it was
Oh yeah.
definitely,
Same here. Signal for some reason. I mean, my area, right? Even today, if I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have signal here. So we
oh,
were without phones. I actually
yeah,
kept it in airplane mode just to preserve the battery,
yeah,
because I would use it for a light source, or my daughter will play some games, and she had her iPad as well. Airplane, like,
yeah,
just preserve battery and
yeah,
entertainment,
yeah.
or
I mean,
emergencies. I walk down the block just to send out a text message for my job.
yeah.
It's
It was
crazy,
it,
no?
it was crazy, man. Like this is something you never think that you'd be without water, food, and stuff like that for days.
Yeah, and
And
then I hadn't done laundry, so socks was scarce for me.
yeah, yeah,
for
dude.
forget thick warm socks. I didn't have any socks.
Yeah,
So
dude.
um it was tough. If you do laundry, Monday or Tuesday, you were screwed.
Yeah, man. What one thing that I did like though, we talking about that like lone wolf kind of mentality. There's times where like I feel like that. There's times where me and my family feel like that. But we're part of a house church, so we're in a small group, and communication with that small group was coming out to us like, is everybody okay? We were all reaching out to help each other. Like if somebody was in dire need, like one of us was going to go to them and help them. We were giving water back and forth with that group. My work was the same way. People were offering up their houses who had water. There was changes like, hey, I don't have water, I don't have power anymore. Can someone offer their house, or I don't know where to go. um, in my military group where I drill with my unit, that was going back and forth, and amongst my family members checking in on each other, and
Yeah.
like seeing that as well as like when we did get online, we could see on our neighborhood Facebook group, like, hey, does anybody need this, or who has blankets, or who needs this. And it was incredible because I'm always, one of the things I say all the time is like, analogy I always use, even teaching my kids, is like, hey, if there's a piece of trash on the floor in your neighborhood or on the side of the road, like it doesn't matter who's president, it It doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter, politics aside. It doesn't matter what you think. Like, you're there and that piece of trash is there. Who's going to pick it up? Because it doesn't matter who's in office. The person who puts in
Exactly.
effort in that community is yourself. And that's one of the things I like to like think on and live about. And anytime I see some trash in the neighborhood, I'm like picking it up, or I'll go to my buddy's house. We went to our house church the other day, and there was like some trash that had just flew into their yard. So I pick it up and I throw it in the trash. And it's stuff like that that I'm always thinking like, man, if everybody did this, like it would be a better place in the world. And when this storm hit, all these like generous things were happening. All this like connections and community did come out. And I was talking it over with my wife. Like, this is where we want to be. Like, we feel very blessed to be in a situation where we have friends and family and a community that actually does come together, especially during a
Oh
disaster.
yeah, yeah, because that is something that you can't really put a price on. There's so many people that could have needed help. So many people were offering help. I mean, luckily everyone was in a position to give and take a little bit here and there. And if everyone does their part, then there wouldn't be needs.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
at least needs that won't go unfulfilled.
Yeah, as soon as it happened, my neighbor texted me, and he's a single guy, right? So he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you all good over there, Brian?" I was like, "I'm all good over here, man." And he's got solar panels, and I'm like, Your solar panels aren't like giving you energy or what?" And he's telling me, he's like, "I'm good. I got some stuff. I got a little power pack that I use from the car to charge my stuff." And I'm like, "Well, I got a few of these military batteries, man. If you're needing one, like let me know." And he's like, "All right, man, I appreciate that." But it's little things like that that you take for granted, like having that conversation with your neighbor, getting their phone number early on, just building up that relationship. Like, even I know, even in my last neighborhood that I was at, I had tons of like, I was gonna say family, but they are like, we want to invite them over to our housewarming when we got the house, but COVID hit. But all three of my neighbors, we had one in front, one to the left, one on the right. Like, we're still in contact with them all. And that's the kind of like neighborhood and community that I want to teach. I know my kids, when they're growing up, like, you need to be part of it. You can't just expect it to happen. Like, you are the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever said like, hey, this community's not active? But it's like, well, are you active? Don't expect anyone else. It's like I said, putting that foot forward is on you.
Yeah, man. That I think that's a big I think Texas really came out and showed like its colors during all this too. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah, my wife was telling me like we were just disconnected, like I said, from everyone. We would like go out, try to walk, but my daughter wants to be with us. So
mhm.
it was windy and cold, and she was just like, I want to go out.
Yeah.
It's like, no, go inside. She's like, nope. And so there I am carrying her a couple blocks down the street, freezing cold, slipping on ice. I don't have the proper shoe wear for it.
Yeah.
And, we're walking just to try and get some signal. And she's being hard headed that she wants to come with us. Um, but yeah, like 20 text messages or, messages on Facebook groups will come in all at once, just boom, 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 boom. And I think my wife saw one where it said, people from Louisiana were asking, why didn't y'all go just run into a store and take some sweaters or take some of this or take some of that loot? And it's like, nah, like this is Texas. Like either people are being extra friendly and neighbor and
Yeah.
um or B, you probably didn't want to go out because it's too damn cold.
Yeah.
Um or people were being respectful throughout this whole thing. It
Yeah.
was, I feel, I mean, not to put blame on anyone, but everyone kind of see where the mess up or miscommunication and issues came from. It
Mhm.
wasn't you, it wasn't me, it wasn't your neighbor, it wasn't, so there's no reason to put someone else in a bad position.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Well, all right, buddy. Let's I usually like closing this thing out with kind of like finishing up with some advice. So like I'll open it up to you if you have any kind of final thoughts, but I usually say, "Hey man, if you had all the other dads listening, all the other moms listening and you wanted to give them some advice, like what would that fatherly advice be from you, Oscar?"
Um, Yikes, tough. um, so one of the things I can really think of right now is I stopped playing as much video games. It's such an addictive thing for me. And so breaking that off, and I feel like using your time wisely, um, to appreciate the time, to make sure you do that more, and not just time like watching TV, but like making memories. Go out to the park with a specific purpose to play ball, or not just randomly swing or anything like that. Like something. I mean, maybe if that's something you want to do, but don't just go out, sit on the bench, and let your kid run wild. Like go out specifically, make memories out there because yeah, time's important, and to make sure you work on yourself. Um, which is something I'm taking strongly upon. A lot of YouTube videos, self help, learning things, always learning things.
Yeah.
Those audiobooks is something that's helped out because you continue to grow and you start seeing the world differently. Um, there's no reason to kind of stay with the same mindset you came out of high school or college, or new decade. You got to have a new perspective in life, right?
Yeah, definitely, man.
So yeah, just use your time wisely and spend it with those you love.
Well said, man. The last thing too, I'm really bad about, but if you want to plug anything in, man, go ahead. You got your Instagram you want to shout out, your Herbalife, like
Yeah,
drop it.
so if anyone's interested with what's it called, nutrition products, I'm a health coach. I try and help those out achieve their goals. We do weekly challenges to help motivate, kind of like sometimes you might feel like you can't achieve your goal, so you need some extra push, some competition to get you going. You can follow me. It's Herrera 24 FIT. Herrera 24 Fit is my Instagram handle, and we plug people into different challenges and hook them up some products and things like that. And it's like you said, a little small community. Everyone's trying to achieve the same goal, but at the same time, everyone's competing with each other. So a little
Yeah,
friendly competition to motivate you. Um,
definitely.
but thank you, Brian, for having me. You've been great. Love the
Awesome,
channel.
man.
I'm continuing to listen to. I got about 3 episodes and I was catching up, and I definitely want to listen to the whole thing. Giving you your 5-star rating on podcast for
Yeah.
sure.
I appreciate that, man. All right,
And I
Oscar.
like your wallpaper, Brian,
Oh,
in the
thanks,
back.
man. That's I
Can
think that
you
was the
can you?
third one we had to get. Um,
Oh, really?
yeah, because the other two, the first one we did, um, it was black and white, so I wanted a color one, so we got a color one the next time we were out, and they drew us all Asian. No idea why. And my wife hates that picture, and I gotta find it. And I'll throw up a picture of it one day. But yeah, they they drew me, my wife, and my daughter Asian for some reason, and it's not like it's noticeable. And we thought we were on like Impractical Jokers or something. But yeah, they drew us crazy off. So
Oh man,
this one third time's a charge. This is down in San Diego, so it was fun getting that one.
no, it looks good, man.
All right, Oscar, we take care. I do appreciate you coming on, man.
No, thank you, Brian, and say hi to your family for me. Hope everyone's
I
good
will,
and
buddy.
taking care.
I will. Stay warm, man.
Will do.